pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sue, we have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Cruz? Here. Councilmember Turner?
Here.
Councilmember Brigham?
Here.
Vice Mayor Walter?
Here.
And Mayor Bagby?
Present. Okay. And may I have the report out of closed session?
Mayor, no reportable action was taken during closed session, but for the record, Councilmember Brigham did not participate because the property discussed under real property negotiations is within 500 feet of property she owns.
Thank you. And conflict of interest declarations. Do we need to see these?
I'll have to recuse myself from the cannabis discussion.
Seeing none others, agenda review. How are we doing? How are we looking tonight?
Mayor, Council, I just want to note that after the agenda was published, there are three written communications received that were provided by Councilmember Cruz. For the record, there was correspondence regarding Summer of Learning from the Boys and Girls Club. There's also an email correspondence from Kings Valley regarding transportation. And last but not least, there's also a copy of a letter from an anonymous resident regarding certain activities on Santana Drive.
It looks like my council report's not here. I sent it to Maria. Was she out this afternoon? Was Maria out this afternoon?
Maria leaves at 4
I
o'clock.
probably just missed her, so. Okay, so I'll make sure that, Sue, I'll make sure I get that forwarded to you for the record, my council report.
Okay, thank you.
That's great, thank you. All right. And we'll move on to public comments. Any person wishing to speak to the city council on any item not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Members of the public have the right to speak on any items on the council agenda during that item. Pursuant to the Brown Act, thank you, the city council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Each person wishing to speak must go to the podium when advised by the mayor and speak directly into the microphone. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is authorized. Would anyone in the public like to come forward and speak on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Well, seeing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. All items under consent calendar will be considered together by one action of the council unless any council member or member of the public requests that an item be removed and considered separately. Would anyone from the council like to pull any of the items?
Mayor, Council, if I can, no need to pull the item, but just want to note if Council it supports item number 2, which is the agreement with the YMCA to operate the pool for the 2019 pool season. One minor amendment to the agreement is just to indicate that the YMCA would be operating the pool Monday through Sunday, 11 to 7. If Council supports that change in their motion, that would be adequate to amend the agreement as provided for in your packet.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve the consent calendar as amended on item number 2.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes, but I would recommend just for item number 3, that's also related to the property.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
I have to recuse myself from that.
you want to just, I think she just recused herself from the vote? Okay, great. All right, do I have we have a first, do I have a second, or further debate? Yes.
I need to ask, is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. David, if there is an agreement that we can use the pool earlier, could there be a change to that? Using the pool 11 to 7? If there's a program established for earlier than 11, this would have to be amended?
That is correct. The language change was requested by YMCA because they wanted to be specific when their insurance coverage would be in effect during the time that is set forth in the agreement.
So do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All right, well then, will we have a roll call, Sue?
Yes. Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Aye, except for 3.
Vice Mayor Walter?
Aye.
Mayor Bagby?
Aye.
So Mayor, if we could we just have that one motion, if possible, from what I heard, was for item 1 and 2 as amended? And now, can we do, so that was a unanimous 5-0. Now can we have another motion, a standalone motion for
item-
number 3?
for item 3.
Where Councilman Brigham will recuse?
Would someone like to bring that forward? Separate items. Separate.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve item number 3 on the consent calendar.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. May we have a vote, Sue, when you're ready?
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Recused.
Recused. Vice Mayor Walter?
Aye.
And Mayor Bagby?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, under communications, I think we covered that. So, actually, do you want me to cover communications separately at this time, City Attorney? Because they were already addressed earlier by the City Manager.
They were addressed, if you want to bring them up again. I know that the city manager did mention some of the communications that got put in the packet.
Okay. Well, actually, I think what I'll do is I'll ask the council if they want to discuss it, and I'll open it up. So are there any comments or questions about the communications received earlier? Okay. Would anyone from the public like to come forward and make a comment on the communications received that were in the packet? Okay. Well, seeing none, we'll bring it back and then we'll just move on. Great. Thank you. So for our public hearings tonight, we will be reviewing the commercial cannabis dispensary permit proposal submitted by Quonset Botanicals and California Wellness.
And I have to recuse myself.
And let the record show that the council member is leaving the dais. So, and city manager, who's handling that staff report.
Mayor, council, I'll be happy to provide the staff report to the council for this item. And if it's okay with you, I'll just jump right in.
Thank you.
Okay. At the direction of council at your April 10th meeting, the direction provided to staff was to, at the time, implement option 3, which included a review of the existing initial applicants for the RFP process for cannabis dispensaries. The direction was to allow for those 2 existing applicants from the initial RFP process to come back for review and consideration by the council. As this council is aware, the current ordinance does provide for a maximum of up to 2 dispensaries. There's been the council has approved 1 dispensary license, so there's currently 1 additional license permitted, but council has provided direction to amend the current ordinance to allow for a maximum of 3 dispensaries, and that is currently in process and has made its way to the commission and will be making its way back to council for your review. In response to council's direction, the 2 existing applicants, which includes Quonset Botanicals and California Wellness, and I do want to note that they have made a slight change in their name from California Wellness to Cloverdale Wellness. So those terms may be used interchangeably as we speak tonight in reference to their previous proposal, which was referred to as California Wellness, and then their updated and amended proposal, which now refers to as Cloverdale Wellness. So I apologize if I have any confusion in terms of the naming there. Both of those applicants were requested or provided the opportunity to provide any updates or amendments to their existing proposals. Both of the applicants did provide supplementary information, and that was incorporated into their previous proposals. The updated and amended proposals were included in the agenda report for the council's review as well as the public's review. And staff did make an attempt to note where there were amendments to those proposals. I did want to note, because there are some sections of the proposals that you may have noticed were blacked out or redacted, and that was because of the confidentiality of the nature of the information, such as security plan information that wasn't really intended for release to the public. So if the public or the community looks at those pages and wonders why there's sections blacked out, it's because it's kept confidential. At the direction of the council, staff did not rank re-rank those resubmitted proposals. That was something that staff inquired with council if that was your preference, and the direction provided to staff was to not conduct a interview or re-ranking of those proposals. And so that's something that you may want to look at further as you review the two proposals in your package this evening. Really, at this time, what we're recommending that you do is to provide both of the applicants an opportunity to provide an overview of their amended packets, and obviously it's a public hearing, so allow for community feedback on those two proposals, and enable discussion on the merits of the two amended and restated proposals. We've outlined some options for you in your packet tonight, and we've included in the packet, if you so choose, resolutions that could award dispensary permits to the two applicants if you so decide. If that's within your perspective, if you choose to do so. Other options include, requesting more information be submitted to facilitate your review of those proposals, and last but not least, to reject all proposals and restart the cannabis dispensary application process. Staff's here and happy to answer any questions you may have about those amended proposals in your packet. Otherwise, we recommend you conduct the public hearing tonight and decide on what's the appropriate option.
And before we get too far, I'm going to ask everybody on the dais with an iPad or an iPhone to put it in airplane mode, because I think that's what possibly causing the interference. I've got both of my timer and my iPad in airplane, so hopefully that will help us with some of the mic issues.
Excuse me. I've been requested to please everybody speak a little bit louder too into them.
Great, thank you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear us if there isn't a lot of interference too. So thank you. Thanks for your patience tonight. All right. Okay, so with that, do you have any questions for staff at this point before we open it up for public comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on page 276 and 277, there's a little more blackouts that need to be done. We missed a couple spots there, and they have to do with phone numbers. I don't believe that they should be publicized there. So that was 276 and 277.
Staff will note and make those
Thank you.
changes.
Well, with that comment, we will go ahead and open it up to public comment and invite the applicants to come forward and speak as well. So please come forward, state your name and city of residence, and I'm going to have my timer up here going. I'll ask you to keep it at about 3 minutes. And if you need a little extra time, we'll be happy to do that. So would anyone from the public like to come forward at this time to comment on this item? You come forward, come to the dais, say your name, give us your city of residence, and try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes.
Thank you.
And please speak into the microphone. I'm trying to be better about that too.
I'll do my best.
Please sign in too.
Good evening. My name is Eric Higginbotham. I'm a resident of Cloverdale. I'm also a trustee of the Cloverdale School Board and also serve as its clerk. I'm here as a spokesman for the school board tonight as our president, Todd Lands, was not able to attend. Approximately a year ago, either the city council or the mayor requested of our superintendent and our school board to make a recommendation as to the distance for dispensaries from our schools. So we drafted Resolution number 218-16, and I would just like to read the pertinent paragraph from that resolution. If I might, I'll be very brief. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Cloverdale Unified School District hereby, based on the record, opposes any cannabis dispensary as defined in the City of Cloverdale City Council Ordinance 715-2017 within 1,000 feet of the school if said cannabis dispensary property line is within direct view from any of the Cloverdale Unified School District school property lines, and 800 feet if said cannabis dispensary property line is not visible from any of the Cloverdale Unified District school property lines. Thank you for your time tonight. I just ask that you consider the board recommended proposal when you're voting on the agendized item, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to come forward at this time and make a comment?
Good evening. I'm Carolyn Jansen. I live in Cloverdale, and I have the property right next door to where Mary Ann wants to start her business. And I have full support. I'm really in admiration of her insight into good things for Cloverdale. They have done, they've always kept me informed. They let me know what's going on. They've put up a beautiful fence. The place has never looked so beautiful as it is now, and I've been there 30-something years. So they really cleaned it up. It looks beautiful. They've been very great neighbors, and I support them, and I look forward to working with them, or, you know, being a supporting neighbor. So I'm very much in favor of them getting to get their business going.
Could you sign in? Thank you.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to come forward at this time? This is your chance.
Good evening, Steve Nurse, Pine Mountain Road, Cloverdale. Some of my comments will be a repeat of a letter that I wrote to the Reveille recently. 12 years ago, I had the privilege of being on a 15-member committee to develop the general plan for Cloverdale as an advisory board. And there were the big principle in the general plan was that we wanted to maintain Cloverdale's small town atmosphere. And one of the elements of that was that we were very concerned about the entrances to Cloverdale and what they look like, because we recognize that the entrances are going to give people the first impression of the town, which may last with them as they come into town. So as you make your decision tonight, I would please ask you to bear that in mind, not just on this item, but on item number 6 on the agenda further down. And if we are to have cannabis outlets at each of the main entrances to town, I would ask you to make sure that the signage, the lighting, and all of those things are not so obtrusive as to give visitors the impression that Cloverdale is the cannabis town. Because we're not. We're a lot more than that. We're a much bigger town than that. In fact, that needs to be policed as well. The Red Door facility at the moment, south of town, is in violation of the lighting element in the general plan. And I don't know if anyone's doing anything about that and what the process is to cure that. It's a pretty simple process to cure it, but the lights are too bright. As we look around the county of Sonoma, of the 9 towns in Sonoma, Cloverdale is going to be one of 4 towns only that allows cannabis sales. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I've got nothing against cannabis sales. I just don't want us to become the cannabis town of Sonoma County. With 3 applications in the town, it seems to me of a town with 8,000 people, that's out of proportion to our population. So I'd ask you to bear that in mind. I mean, the future of this town is not in cannabis. the future of this town is in tourism, and we need to be putting efforts into ensuring that we attract tourists to this town where they're going to be spending the big bucks and help develop this town in terms of restaurants and hospitality and all the things that make towns in Sonoma County successful. So I would ask you not to take your eye off the ball, which is really tourism and not cannabis, despite the potential tax revenue from it. There's a lot more revenue coming in from tourism and a lot more opportunity for economic development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come forward at this time to speak on this item? Would anyone else like to come forward and speak on this item? Just saw straggler come in, so. Okay, well, seeing none, as long as everyone feels like they've had an opportunity to come forward, I'll close the public comment period and I'll bring it back to the council for deliberation. Who would like to start us off tonight?
Are we going to have an opportunity to hear from the respective applicants?
If they want.
Do they have presentations? Yeah, so I'll just extend another invitation if the applicants would like to come forward at this time. We're absolutely welcome during public comment. So actually, so what I'll do is just invite the applicants, and then following that, if anyone else from the public will want to make a comment, we'll invite you to come down at the time.
Good evening, Ipolani Bove with Quonset Botanicals. Thank you for having us tonight. It's been a long year. I just wanted to say that we did submit some supplemental information to our RFP, and I wanted to make myself available if there's any questions regarding what we put forth. And I hope everyone had a chance to have access to our new security site plan. I know it's been redacted, but I think that council can have access to it and look over it, which is very detailed. If you know, at this point, every action in a dispensary has oversight and security measures. So those plans are really long. Other than that, our principles are the same, and we just are excited to be here and looking forward to working. So if you have any questions, I'm available. I'll answer them the best that I can. Thank you.
Actually, do you want to go ahead and stay up, and I'll find out if anybody on the council wants to ask you any questions. Do you have anything right now?
I have one or two. Heard a lot of comment about beautifying the property. One particular landowner came up and spoke very positively just moments ago. What can we anticipate with things outside the direct use of cannabis that you've used thus far, i.e. the art trail? Could we anticipate that maybe staying on that property, and just an overview of what may go on that does not directly relate to the dispensary, with which you're comfortable sharing, of course?
Absolutely. Landscaping and maintenance is of the utmost priority to keep things looking maintained. Also, the art trails is a perfect fit for this particular piece of property. As you enter into it, you see first thing, art. You know, the art is a huge component, so we plan to continue to utilize that unless we have any major plans in the future, which we'll obviously present beforehand. Those are the couple things. Keeping it maintained. I think we do have some more plans to continue to beautify the existing building with exterior paint, plants. Of course, Sean loves succulents, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But we plan to continue to maintain and beautify the property.
Yes, I have a question. Is it on? Is it on? Okay, I have a question regarding delivery access and also parking at that particular facility.
Mm-hmm. Could you be very specific? There's quite a few components to delivery.
I want to know if the parking is as it stands today, or is it going to be enlarged?
Okay, if we do receive, we have already started conversations with Coastland. Mark. And so making sure that we adhere to what we need to do in order to provide proper parking if it becomes access to the public. So we've already taken some measurements and submitted them to Mark, and they've checked on those. So those are in the works, and we believe that it will be a sustainable parcel for public to access and adequate parking.
Okay. And then the access, I meant delivery of materials to the site. Do you have an additional entrance? I haven't seen the
Oh, okay. There is access in the back that's specifically designated for product delivery. And there's very specific protocols when you deliver cannabis, exchange cannabis, touch cannabis. And some of those are in our security plan. Some of those are regulated by the BCC. So we are very much adhere to what is required of us to make sure that that is feasible. So you also have to realize when cannabis is delivered, it comes prepackaged, pre-labeled. We can't touch it. We can't really do much of anything with it. It comes from the distributor, already prepackaged and beautiful, and we intake it into our property with very specific protocols. So with that being said, it's not like there's huge trucks that will be coming onto the property to deliver product. There's not. It would probably be a small van or a small car. Does that answer your question?
So my question is actually, you have two entrances, one for clients and one for delivery.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No questions, but I just want to compliment you. The property's looking better already. Just taking all those trees down, the sculptures on the corner. That's a very difficult property to build anything on because of all of the underground utilities. There's not much that's going to go there other than a big parking lot.
That's correct.
And I can't wait to see the paint job that you're going to put on that old metal building. It's going to look good. Thank you.
Nothing else.
I don't have anything for you at the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the other applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, council members. Daniel Frankston from San Francisco, hopefully soon to be from Cloverdale. I will not go back and belabor everything that we've gone through for the past year. I was just curious whether the council members had an opportunity to review not only what's in the packet, but the letter that was sent out on the 17th from Bobby Elam that just kind of highlighted the changes. Because I know that they got kind of buried in the RFP, and the intent was to just set them out there so you could see. Essentially, our mission remains the same. The updates that we provided were a bit on the personnel side. Eleanor Gomez will be the general manager, and as a result, that required a change in our entity from the prior California Wellness, and we just thought that given what our goal is to really do something great for this community, we thought that California Wellness should cede in favor of Cloverdale Wellness. So we changed that, and I became a principal, one of the principals in that. As part of that process, and I think it's included in what I sent to Mr. Kelly, we submitted the live scans and the background information, which would have been required of phase one, and to the extent anything else is required, we'd certainly be amenable to doing that. And that's essentially the essence of our updates. The one change that we came across is that our emphasis will be on doing a delivery service for medicinal cannabis, but there had been a lot of input that we'd received from the community, a desire to also have recreational cannabis available, and given that that wouldn't interfere with our model to have really a clinical therapeutic almost a doctor's office environment for a dispensary, we thought that it'd be prudent to add that as well, especially if there's going to be a third permit that's going to cut into the revenue. So that's in essence the change to our proposal. The one big change that's not included in there is the laws got shifted tremendously in the course of a year. So we will not be doing packaging, we will not be doing product safety other than what's required by the state, because that'll come in. But We do intend to still keep that going. We know that, for instance, CBD is a product that we intend to offer as well. And we know that there is great control over cannabis and the regulations and the testing. But we found that when it comes to CBD, it's still a wide open field. And so that's an area where we'll probably want to send materials out that come to us fully tested to be retested to ensure that they meet the product safety and standards that the patient would want to expect when they're coming in to get medicine. So other than that, we're here. If anybody has any questions, we'd certainly be happy to address them.
We'll start on this side this time, if that's okay. Does anyone, the council have any questions for this applicant?
Yes. So you said that there are different, some changes due to the law requirements. So you're not doing any more packaging?
No, well, I won't belabor you with everything that's gone down, but the way the Bureau of Cannabis Control's regulations require that the materials that come into, the materials that we sell must come into our dispensary in the form in which we sell it. So if they were going to sell pre-rolled joints, those would have to come into the dispensary like that. If somebody wants to buy an ounce, that's how it would have to come in as an ounce. We will do no packaging ourselves. That happens outside the facility. It usually happens on the distributor level. And that would be true not just for us, but for any dispensary that's going to comply with the new regulations.
So you will not be manufacturing per se?
No, this is not manufacturing. It's not a request for a manufacturing license. It's merely for retail sales.
Are you still going to be distributing, like delivery?
Okay. Delivery of cannabis, we will continue to do. Distribution is an entirely different process. Essentially, in order for a grower to bring product to our dispensary, they would have to either bring it themselves or more probably retain what's called a distributor, who basically picks it up at where it's grown and drops it off at the dispensary where it's sold. And we will certainly continue to do delivery. That's, in fact, what we intend to emphasize.
You're not buying directly from a grower?
We would buy directly from any grower that's licensed to sell to us, correct?
And that would be delivered to your dispensary?
That's correct. The way the cannabis rules work are that either we need to purchase from a distributor or we can purchase directly from a grower who delivers. Because I believe as part of the licensing for a cannabis grower would allow them the opportunity to bring that to our facility.
And how do we know the quality of that product?
Well, before it arrives in our dispensary, it needs to be sent out for testing. Because that's not an area that I work in, I'm not familiar with the exact procedure. But typically the way it works is that a grower is required to make a portion of their product available to be tested. It's taken out, tested at a facility by a third party. The results are then certified and brought back. We would not purchase any cannabis unless it had a stamp on there saying that one was a licensed product. There's a track and trace system so that regardless of where it comes from, when it arrives at our dispensary, we know who grew it and every portion of the process in which that cannabis travels. So
your dispensary will have a different segment, section where you're going to have deliveries, you're going to receive deliveries of raw product?
No. The dispensary will bring in all the product and it will be stored in compliance with the BCC regulations. Thereafter, we will take from the inventory and either put it out on the shelves for sale at the retail level, or alternatively, when an order comes in, then that order will be fulfilled from the stock, sent to the delivery person, and then delivered to the customer.
So it will come packaged?
Correct. That's correct. It will come packaged. Like I said, it comes into our facility fully packaged, and then when we send it out, it will also be packaged. And there are new regulations that are starting to take effect that say, not only does it have to come in packaged to us, but when we send it out, it always needs to go out the door or be delivered in a tamper-proof, child-resistant container, which nobody can see unless they can get into those containers to open. And I can tell you, that's no easy feat to do.
And
Information, how so?
What is the response to this business being established?
We have reached out to several of the tenants that are in the building. We have not received any sort of complaint or any sort of, obviously there's trepidation, but that's natural and it's understandable. It's a whole new business, but nobody has come out and said, that's something that I just can't support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, thank you for changing your name. It fits more with the town, needless to say. And secondly, thank you for keeping the medical portion. I think that's really a component that we need in this industry, and I look forward to chatting with you once you get open. So thank you.
Thank you.
I read the packet in its entirety. I just need a little bit of clarification that piggybacks a little bit with what Gus had to say. You made a comment in your presentation just now that due to some changes, you're going to open up a retail front. Everything I saw in here still said that a medical license would be required of those customers. Is that still the case?
Yes. Just to be clear, when I said recreational, we're talking about delivery service only. So essentially, in order to come into our dispensary, you would need to have a doctor's recommendation and a license to purchase medical marijuana.
And it's still to be the ideal that you will make appointments. I saw that you made a pretty big point of your presentation in you're being mindful of the traffic that could be mitigated by utilizing appointments. Do you still find that'll be a sustainable business model for you?
Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, there's never any telling of how things will go down the road, but our desire is to really service a portion of the cannabis industry that we feel is A, growing by leaps and bounds as the population ages and the benefits of medicinal marijuana are revealed. And also B, they're looking for ability to purchase it in a manner that's discreet. And so, yeah, the entire operation that we seek to set up is to allow people to come in, have consultations. And the consultations will really be dependent on the individual. Some people, this is nothing new. Some people have been what I'll just call self-medicating for decades, and they know exactly what they want. And they certainly don't want to have to sit down and go through a whole rigmarole in order to get exactly what they need. On the other hand, for many, in fact, for most people, when they're looking at medicinal marijuana, they're still not familiar with all of the various aspects and how CBDs versus THC works, and then even within the THCs, there are different types of cannabis that solve different types of problems. And yeah, that's what we really want to do, is to sit down and get people comfortable and get them knowing exactly what they need and what fits their medicinal needs. And the hope being that once they've done that, then at that point, it'd be like anything else. Go to the store and pick me up this. I know exactly what I need. And here we have a delivery service where they can just call in and say, okay, it's that time of month, we're ready for our prescription to be filled.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Actually, you answered one of mine in there, so I'm good. So thank you, but stay close just in case there are any additional questions. Would anyone else from the public like to come forward at this time before I close the public portion of this discussion? All right, well, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to council for deliberations. So, and I believe, so we have two resolutions. What is the council's pleasure? Would you like to debate them? Go ahead and just debate them separately. Does that work for a city manager and for members of the council?
Madam Mayor, I really don't want to debate them at all.
Well, I'm still going to give everybody a chance to do so.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay, that's fine. And I understand that. I just, we've been chewing on this long enough. I pretty much think I have my arms around it. But just a couple of things, if I can. Eric, on behalf of the school board, thank you for coming this evening. I appreciate it. And that recommendation was considered when last year we came up with the setbacks. We've been very careful on regulating signage and what they're going to look like, and I just want to remind everyone that this is an annual permit, And part of the renewal process is going to be complaints that we receive on the facilities. It's going to be with checking with the police department to make sure that there hasn't been a large number of calls before the new permit is granted. And Steve Nurse, to speak to your question, and I just want to make it perfectly clear, you're absolutely right. Of the 9 cities in Sonoma County, Cloverdale is one of the few that has decided to do this. For me, it wasn't the tax. It was the fact that 58% of my town said they wanted it. And I'm nobody to thumb my nose at them and say, no, you can't have it. So that's why, and I think 2 in particular, because they're going to be retail, and the Cloverdale Wellness is going to be more or less the medical end of it. I'm quite comfortable with them, and I'm quite comfortable with their locations. So that's all I have to say.
Sheila's looking thoughtful, so I'm going to, you look ready, so.
You know, this has been a very, very challenging topic. The divide over this topic comes as close as my home. There are people in my own home that don't agree with the direction. People within my family that don't agree with each other on the direction. When I ran for city council, I told a lot of people that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create opportunity. I want to stand by that. I don't have the foresight to understand the complete cause and effect of the things that we will put forward today if they move forward. But I do take some comfort that in a year we will be able to review these permits. And I want the people here tonight as applicants to just really understand this is a passionate community. You've seen it this far. You've seen the rhetoric that came, the dialogue that came. They're going to pay attention. So please, stick to the word that you've put out. Stick to the philosophy that you're winning people over with slowly but surely. And remember that this industry as a whole will survive or not with the players that choose to partake. So with that being said, I cannot find a reason to tell one or the other no.
Jason and I came into this game at the very end, even though we had resided and we had experienced the divide that happened in this town over cannabis. Even though 58% of the people want cannabis business, I'm not certain that the 58% stands for cannabis today, or at least for 3 cannabis dispensaries here in town. I do listen to the school board, and I did speak to the sheriff's department, and I've also spoken to some of the police members. I don't feel quite comfortable voting for additional cannabis dispensaries here in Cloverdale. I do believe, like Jason, that perhaps a year would be a trying opportunity and a trial for businesses and the town. However, I have to question, would you really invest all the money that it takes to move your residents to Cloverdale without any security that in a year people are going to agree with your business? You know? That is a concern to me, because I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's too much at stake. Now I'm just waiting for it.
We'll wait for the siren.
It's an ambulance.
And in terms of the livelihood of these businesses, I'm concerned about the money behind the financial statements on Quonset Botanicals. So I'm really not certain of what it is going to be within the next few minutes of what my vote would be. But I feel quite torn about this. And I too want to see opportunity in Cloverdale. But I'm not certain that this is the opportunity that I'm looking for in terms of further development of the cannabis industry in Cloverdale. So I do feel somewhat like Mr. Nurse. Are we going to be the capital of cannabis in Sonoma County? And what is going to be the cost? Those are my thoughts.
Well, I wasn't necessarily on the council when all this started, but I tried to attend many of the meetings, and you know, from the beginning, this started out, you know, before Prop 64 was on the ballot as compassionate care, compassionate use. And my impressions of a lot of the public comment was that for folks who, like me, did not vote yes on Prop 64, I was in the minority. And the reason I voted against it, I was all for the changing of the sentencing and scrubbing people's records who were people of color who got arrested for the same thing that their white middle-class counterparts got off for because they could afford a good attorney. I was absolutely all for that aspect of Prop 64, but I felt that it was rushing things not to implement cannabis policy in the medicinal track and then, you know, get it right and then bring in recreational. So I was in the, and I didn't get my way, and that was fine, and the voters spoke. But, you know, every time we had a hearing with the applicants, it was that, okay, you know, post 64, well, okay, 64 is passed. Cannabis is now legal. At least let's make it discreet. At least let's make it something that we can, you know, bring in out of the shadows, make it a legitimate part of our economy, it'll have, you know, positive aspects to it. But we don't have to, we might be the capital, the cannabis capital, and, you know, we might be eventually, but we don't have to look like it. You know, it can be discreet. It can be what people who clearly spoke out against really, you know, really obvious cannabis dispensaries, even though, you know, I know that so much of state law dictates the signage, so much of state law dictates the look and feel. So I'm not alarmed by that, but I'm still concerned with the placement at at a major entry to our community. I was against it because I don't believe that kind of use belongs in our transit-oriented development near our train station. I think that that use, if it's approved, is going to get grandfathered in and it's going to be there. And that property, though it does have development challenges, is not going to go to its best use for this community. And so I also agree that the school really did kind of come late to the party as far as cannabis was concerned. I wish that the school board and other members had been more active in the early debates, but they did come and they did say what their wishes are and that they're opposed to that location. And even though I know that the application has been somewhat approved, I just can't find enough evidence to support it this evening. I'm just concerned about it from a land use perspective. There's enough concern from the community of, especially the school board, and there's enough concern from the community of folks who do not support cannabis, but said, yeah, but if it's discreet, that's something that, you know, that I can support and I can live with. So that's how, you know, that's my vote's going to reflect that. So I think what we're going to do now is we'll take each resolution on its own, unless we have additional comments from our Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You sure do. You know, let's start with the school board. You know, there's really no justification of 1,000 feet. It could be 1,000 feet, it could be 950. You know, the true education for youngsters when it comes to marijuana and drugs start at home. It doesn't start with with a building that's maybe 1,000 or 600 feet away from the school. You know, I guarantee you that some of those kids in school on the weekends watch mom and dad smoke a little pot in the backyard. And they're watching TV, Cheech and Chong, you know, without any parental supervision.
We're going to need to update your movie list.
Yeah, okay. But I do appreciate you coming forward. It is going to be a screen building so that it is not going to be visible to any great extent. People aren't going to be standing outside on the sidewalk smoking cigarettes and having a good old party. That's just not going to happen. Go down and take a look at Red Door. I mean, fantastic job Jamie King did down there. And that is at an entrance of our town. And when you come through there, you wouldn't know what it is. And I think that Quonset Botanical is going to do an excellent job to fix up that corner. And you know what? If your concerns are that there's going to be any shady business there, they'll be going in a year. So it's not like we're going to put up with this thing for 20 years. That's why we have the renewal process. So, you know, that's my feeling. So.
Anyone else? Okay, so again, we're going to, I believe, take it one resolution at a time. And I believe the first one is on page 289 in our packets. Would someone like to offer the resolution?
I'm not too good on this thing. Let me get to 289.
Just keep going down.
Keep going.
298, 289. Well, the first one is I'd like to offer City of Cloverdale City Council Resolution number 34-2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale awarding a commercial cannabis dispensary permit to Cloverdale Wellness, formerly California Wellness.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
And maybe roll call, please.
Councilmember Cruz?
Nay.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember, Vice Mayor Walter?
Yes.
Mayor Begbie?
Aye.
Okay, the next resolution, Madam Mayor, is on page 291, and I'd like to offer that as well. City of Cloverdale City Council Resolution number 35-2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale awarding a commercial cannabis dispensary permit to Quonset Botanicals.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, maybe have a roll call, Sue, when you're ready.
Councilmember Cruz?
No.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Walter?
With explanation, you know, I truly believe that this is, number one, Madam Mayor, a good location for this dispensary. I don't think it's going to impede that school at all, and I really would like to see this approved. I do not want to see any more divide in the community, so I'm voting yes.
Appreciate it.
Oh, excuse me, Mayor Begbie?
No. Well, thank you very much.
Quick question, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
of our city attorney. When could this resolution come back, or what do we have to do to bring it back?
We can ask us to bring the item as far as future items. We could ask to bring it back. The cannabis, you will have the cannabis ordinance that comes before you actually, and it's going to be next month, in the next couple of meetings. You're going to have the cannabis item in front of you with the ordinance revision that the council had directed us to prepare.
Okay.
So the cannabis item is coming back.
All right.
Regardless.
So it's possible we can bring them both back. Because I'm going to suggest, and Councilmember Cruz, please don't take this the wrong way, but you need to do a little homework on the cannabis, on how it's distributed, on how it's sold. So I'm hoping that you might consider to change your vote. And Mayor Bagby, I know you've been dead set against this location forever. For what reason, I don't know. But I don't think we did justice here today.
I would like to make a comment, Madam Mayor.
You know what, I would like to move on to the next item. Would that be all right?
Well, yes, but I just want to make one clarification.
Okay, go ahead.
I have completed my homework.
Okay.
I never come unprepared to any council meeting.
Okay.
And I've made my decision based on information that I have read. And I asked the questions so that there's a record that I have asked questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all right.
May
Go
I
right
make a
ahead.
comment regarding bringing back the actual applications? Please know that there is the 1-year clause that we just basically made it under this item, bringing the same proposals back. But you will have an ordinance, so you could discuss that as far as what the flexibility is for previous candidates.
Okay. And just for clarification, in the meantime, that facility is still okay for a delivery permit. They're on track for that.
As far as can they still get a delivery permit? Yes, they would.
Okay.
They would be going through the process with that's a permit that's issued by the city manager.
Thank you.
And actually, I'll just go ahead and clarify my comments quickly. I think I've been very clear. You know, this has been in process for over a year, and I used, you know, my full background of 7 years on the Planning Commission, and also, you know, 5 years on our Economic Development Board. I have at no time have I been anti-cannabis. I'm very supportive of the industry, and I've also been very clear about my concerns about that location, and it's a matter of the record. To characterize it as dead set against, well, at least I can point to the record to say that at least I've been consistent. So at this point, I would like to congratulate the successful candidates. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the process. And we're going to move on to new business and item number 5, and that's Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Kevin Thompson, Assistant City Manager, Community Development Director.
We need to get Mary Ann real quick.
And let's,
Oh,
yeah.
right, sorry.
Sorry. We won't take a recess, but we'll take a pause. All right. I'm going to call us back into session and continue on with new business and item number 5. Is that Mr. Thompson?
Yes. Mayor, council members, Kevin Thompson, Assistant City Manager, Community Development Director. This item is a resolution that will establish a community advisory group to start looking into the issue of homelessness in town. The formation of the advisory group is a key recommendation of the Homeless Strategic Plan Framework. You may recall back in March, we brought forward the strategic framework. At that meeting, we advised staff to proceed with implementation. This is considered the next step of that process. The framework, basically, the framework will, it calls for 3 meetings. The purpose of this meetings would be to refine the framework. There's a lot of things in the framework that may or may not be a fit for our community, so we're going to put together this committee to comb through the framework to try to really understand the needs of the Cloverdale community. Some of those things in the framework may be eliminated, some may be added. The point of it would be 3 meetings. That's the way it's structured in the framework, to have 3 meetings with the advisory group, whittle down what's in the framework, customize it to Cloverdale, and then bring it back before the council. So that's kind of the plan for moving forward with the strategic framework. I did provide a list of names in the staff report of people who are interested. I would like to recommend that we'll whittle that down and bring that back to council. Some of these folks expressed interest a while back, so I need to reconfirm with them if they're still interested. There's 12 people on there. We may do 10 with 2 alternates. So we'll take a look, and I'm going to reach out. I haven't reached out to all of them recently and make sure everyone's still interested and bring back a list of names for consideration. So our recommendation tonight is that the council adopt Resolution 36/2019, forming the Community Advisory Committee for the implementation of the Homeless Strategic Plan Framework.
I'll just actually ask the council, are there any comments or questions about this at this time before I open it up to the public?
The only thing I noticed is it seems like it's one of the few committees, and I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but I'm sure you'll rattle off a few where there's only one council member's representation on it.
That may be the case. Again, we're still kind of compiling the names of people who want to be on it. If another council member was interested, Councilmember Cruz expressed some interest, so we included her name.
Fantastic.
When we start going out to really confirm and see who really wants to be a part of this, that will be open to another council member, certainly.
Can we make sure we prod the planning commissioners as well a little bit on this one, if we have not already?
We can, and again, I just provided the list just to show that there is interest, and these folks have expressed some interest along the way. So once if the council adopts this resolution tonight, we'll be reaching out to them, reaching out to others, and we'll come back with a recommendation of names.
I gotcha. So I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but thank you for the
No,
comments.
well, thanks. I mean, the planning commission's a good idea. We'll definitely ask them and see if there's any interest there and others.
So unless anyone else has any just questions right now, we'll go ahead and open it up and then we'll bring it back to council. That's all right? All right. Would anyone from the public like to come forward and Colleen or or anyone just to comment on this with this? Basically, this is the plan to create the plan.
Colleen Halbom, Wallace House, CCOC. The only thing I would mention is that we already have been working on some behind-the-scenes spreadsheets so that we can keep track of the people that we know, that we've identified are homeless here and where they're located. Michael Velasquez from St. Vincent de Paul and our group at St. Peter's on Tuesday mornings. We have Jacqueline Ramirez from the clinic and Raul from Behavioral Health and Sean and Clean River Alliance and who am I missing? I must be forgetting somebody. Catholic Charities. We have our coordinated entry there. So there's a lot of work that's already been done. But the next step for us so that we can participate fully is to bring a fully audited count so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. And then we've also had people that have volunteered to put GPS coordinates on here. Ellen Blevin, who provided the GPS map for the Porterfield Trail, she's volunteered to help us with this. And another lady who does HMIS data is going to create a report for us. So that way we have a baseline and some data to support our efforts so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. And as of this morning, we just added a new person that came into town. We're at 30. So we're at 30 people who we know, we have identifiers in terms of names, and we'll work with that. So that's where we're at.
So you got that, Kevin? So,
I did
and
get
Ellen is in Dave Holt's office, if you don't know. Ellen Blevin, so.
Okay.
And the reason for that is so that we can send outreach workers to them, because some of them don't come into St. Peter's. They don't. So we're actively going out into the camps and into the vehicles and into the areas where they're parked, and they move. So that way we can be more effective in terms of our efforts.
If I may real quick. And I just want to make sure I understand correctly, because Lord knows you provide a lot of services. Is the intent in this context to be a resource to keep this group apprised if whether we're moving the needle or not?
Well, that's it. And, because if I'd mentioned to Kevin and David, if we think the numbers are in the hundreds, inertia can set in because it seems so overwhelming. So to begin with, we need to find out really what we're dealing with, and then that way when we produce outcomes, what's the goal here? Is the goal, okay, so let's say we have 30 and half of them have severe mental illness. Well, we know to target the mental health efforts and the resources there specifically. If the other half are, say 5 of the remaining 10 or 20 might be just down on their luck, or they need, financial assistance in some way, or it's just primarily that they are out of housing. It helps us direct our efforts and to assess them properly, make sure that they're in the coordinated entry system, and prioritized for housing via this vulnerability index survey, and if they score real high, they are prioritized into housing. Now, some of them may not go, but those are the ones then that we want to initiate a higher level of triage, is what we're referring to. And so it just helps us be more effective.
Okay. Because the item before us this evening, of course, right, is to discuss the generation of this group. And so what...
And to create the final, this is the draft plan, and then to create the final plan.
Okay, understood. Okay, so okay, because I'm putting these all together now because
it's a couple of pieces.
there are, you know, I see you as one of the people on here, obviously towards the top of the list, and what I see your organization really being able to do is help this group identify, again, forgive me that I'm repeating myself, but that we're actually moving the needle.
Right.
And then you're also able to provide consultation based on your professional opinion about where we would get the most gain from the resources based on your triage.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's it, unless anybody had a question.
Yes. What is the input that the police officer Camara has given you?
Well, we have distributed this list, and he's looked at it and has given us some additions.
Okay.
And so he's been very helpful to us. Right. And so I guess the importance in that is that this list has been fairly well scrubbed in terms of the information. And we'll bring this list back to St. Peter's on Tuesday mornings, and we'll say, Michael, have you got anybody new? And just tonight, he said, yes, there was somebody over at the vicarage, or if there's somebody that's new, and we're not even sure what language he speaks. His psychosis is so bad, and he's going to need some pretty severe assistance. But one of the challenges we're going to have initially is just to get somebody to interpret for us. So it's going to be a severe mental illness, somebody with language barriers, resistant to help, because we've asked him if he needed food, and it really is difficult to get him to communicate with us. But he would rise to the top of the triage so that we could focus our efforts on him specifically, saying because he's the most fragile, for example. And then we kind of work our way down the list, which is attainable. This is something we can do with 30 people. And it may be that we come back in a year and we still have 30 people. I don't know. It's a possibility. But at least we can use this opportunity to really dive deep into this.
Any other questions for Colleen? Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Colleen, as always, thank you for the work that you do there. And you know, I think we need an educational process too, component for the community. People tend to lump individuals in one phrase as homeless, when there's displaced homeless, and then there's the addict, and there's that person who just can't function on their own. And as you're going to be doing in the triage process, is you're going to be identifying which silo to put them in. I just wish we can come up with another term, maybe just using the word displaced as opposed to an addict, because there is truly a difference.
Right, and that's a whole other interesting challenge, because I think there's a misperception that people who are out there who are addicts have a choice. And many of them who have gone into psychoses, which is probably most people on this list, their brains are so impaired oftentimes that they don't have the power of choice. So interventions are oftentimes our only options, and that's where law enforcement comes in. I know it's been more challenging for them lately because a lot of the leverage that they had in the past has been loosened, and so we're not able to get people into jail where they may clear their brains a little bit, and then we can offer them treatment options, because oftentimes that's the way that it works.
Right. Yeah. And I know at the school board subcommittee a few months back, I think it's towards the end of last year, Sean, I think you provided us with a count of how many children were homeless in the school system. And I was astonished. It was upwards of, I believe it was around 17 or so were considered homeless. And they're living in trailers and motorhomes, and that's just not good.
Right.
So those are the ones that I think we should jump up and help first.
Any other questions from the council? So, if C, go ahead.
I'm just happy to see this moving forward, and I have complete faith in you, Colleen, to lead this in the right direction.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've really been grateful for all the support. We're happy to see this moving forward.
Any other comments from the public? Yeah. And don't go far, Colleen, just in case there are more questions. So.
Good evening, Michael Velasquez. I lead the St. Vincent de Paul every Tuesday. And there's another layer that probably will be part of this task force is we see, the last 6 weeks, we've seen 80 plus people every Tuesday that we're providing for. And I can't really put my finger on, is it more homeless? Is it more living in vehicles moving up to Kaminsky Station? Are there more of the Hispanic young mothers with their kids? Is it more the homebound seniors? Or is it more coming down from King Circle seniors? But there's going to be another layer that we see every Tuesday, and in our outreach of the seniors that have some mental challenge and that are on the cusp of being unsheltered, where they're going to be evicted. And so that's going to be another layer that we're keeping their heads afloat above water, because we're providing for those with one-time rental assistance, their utilities, their Cloverdale water or the utilities to pay for that so they don't get evicted. But down the road, something happens and they're going to get evicted. So there's another layer of the possibility of that list growing, hopefully not, but becoming larger because of another layer of people in our community. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, at the risk of being incredibly rude, may I trouble Vice Mayor Walter for one of his peppermints, please? Thank you.
It's that time of year.
I'm thinking this will do okay, but I might hit you up for that. Thank you.
Does anyone else from the public like to come forward and comment on the proposed plan?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, city staff, Sergeant Parker. I too would like to take a minute to express my appreciation for seeing this move forward. It couldn't possibly happen quick enough, and I'd like to take a minute to tell you why. I'd like to begin by thanking Councilmember Walter. Thank you for making mention of the fact that we do have to come up with a new way to describe this problem. Homelessness, it just ain't cutting it. Colleen, Michael, and I have done a pretty thorough job of determining who's here, where they're at, and what their story is. I personally would prefer that we begin to call them what they are. Joe, Glenn, it doesn't take much. These folks are in your community all day, every day. And I'll tell you, it makes a world of difference if you just walk up and say, "Hi, my name's Sean. Who are you? How can I help? What are you doing? Can we give you any sort of assistance?" I'm particularly concerned at this point, and again, I'm very thankful that this is moving forward, and please, don't let it lag. As the weather warms, well, the population will increase. Now is of the utmost importance. I'd like to see us to prioritize some of what I think is most visibly our problem in the community, which is those with mental health and addiction issues. Very rarely do we find that the community is upset with the family that's out of a place because rent's too high or they lost their home to wildfire. It's our mentally, it's the mental health issue, I think, folks that are out and about that are getting the community's attention. I don't know what the answer is, but I do want to find one. You need somebody like me, honestly, without patting myself on the back. I see a number of these fellers daily. St. Peter's Church provides me food for the shelves and lunches. You'd be surprised at how far being able to sit, talk to me for an hour, and a sandwich goes. They leave there with a whole different attitude. Unfortunately, though, tonight, Sergeant Parker and I have had a chance to visit, and he's come to me out of concern and said, "Sean, be careful. Some of these fellers that you're involved with probably have a story that you should be aware of." And thank you, Sergeant. I know you too are doing your very best to address this problem and make our community comfortable. I'd like to see a particular emphasis put on that. I think it would go a long way in the community at large if we're addressing those that are most visible. And unfortunately, those are our community with addiction issues and with mental health issues. You have my commitment, my word. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. It does make a big difference. I'm putting them to work as best I can, getting to know them, talking to them, and encouraging them to behave themselves in town, encouraging them to get into St. Peter's and get onto that coordinated entry, to get help, to get services. And I'll tell you, though, the one thing that we are missing is an opportunity for them to just have somebody to talk to, somebody to listen, and somebody to get them their medication in a timely manner. So, again, thank you very much for taking this on, and I look forward to doing whatever I can to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a very long rubber band right here. Let's see if I can do this. Patrick King, Cloverdale resident, business owner, a few businesses here in town. If there's a committee that's I can join on this, I would love to participate more in this. Like, if there's an opportunity for that, I definitely want to put the time in. I'm into solutions. Sean has been a huge asset. I mean, I've watched him. I mean, we need people like Sean out there, because the initial communication, he's not a threatening individual when it comes to somebody. You know, they feel like they can trust and talk to him, and we need more people like him down helping out the communication with the homeless. You know, I just offered a job. I don't know if you guys know that. I pulled somebody out of there. They ended up being my best employee right now. It's really great. So it's really trusted. He's now not living in a van down by the river, but living in a van at Soil King Garden Center. We have showers over there as well, and he's earned the right. And it just feels good to be part of a solution. And if I can apply myself in any more, I would love to contribute to this. So thank you for that.
Did you get that, Kevin?
I did, thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to come forward and volunteer? That would be great. Would anyone else like to come forward and speak on this item? All right, I'll just,
Just a quick note, this committee will be subject to the Brown Act, so it will be open to people to come contribute and participate even if they are not on the committee. So there will be opportunities for a large number of people.
Great, so anybody at home watching this on video too will be able to participate, even if you're not on the panel. Great, okay. So is there any further debate about this, or would someone like to offer the resolution? Move forward.
Madam Mayor, I am happy to offer a resolution on this topic in name only, if I may. City of Cloverdale City Council Resolution Number 36-2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale establishing the Community Advisory Group as recommended by the Homeless Strategic Plan Framework.
Is there a second? I second. Sue, when you're ready.
Yes, Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Walter?
Yes.
And Mayor Bagby?
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, review application packet from the Dry Creek and Pomo Indians for pre-application review. Who would like to take that?
Mayor, council members, this item is a request from the Dry Creek Band of Pomo Indians for a pre-application annexation for 2 parcels located in the southern part of our sphere of influence. In total, both parcels are about 49 acres. They have 2 general plan designations on them. There's one, and I'll try to describe both. We can kind of talk about what the idea is for both of them. There's 2 general plan designations, as I said. The parcel directly front South Cloverdale Boulevard is general industry, and the parcel to the west. And I also wanted to add that the applicant provided some new maps that are clean, and he's going to come up and describe what they are, but just for visual aid, you can see the 2 parcels on the map. It says Lako on the top. The parcel to the west has a general plan designation of low-density residential. I'll just talk about that parcel first, because I think it's a little further along in what the development scheme is. The idea there would be 25-lot subdivision with single-family homes built on them. The homes would be used for the tribe elders, and I've ask the applicant to come up and maybe give us a little more details on that. That portion of the project or the concept here would be in conformance with the general plan. Also mentioned that the sort of the wooded upland areas would be left open, and the homes would be located on the flatter areas down in the flat part. So if approved tonight, this project we're suspecting will be moving through the process a little bit quicker, seeking entitlements with pre-zoning, environmental review, subdivision map, and design review, and ultimately back to the council. We go to the planning commission, then back to the council for final approval, then on to the county for annexation approval. The eastern part of the portion of the project is just under 20 acres, and that would be split in half. Well, the proposal would be to split the zoning there about 10 acres as general commercial, and the other 10 would remain as light general industrial. Excuse me. So there's not a real development plan for those two parcels at this point. You know, we've been talking a lot about this assessment district. These parcels would be subject to the assessment district. One of the conditions that we put in the pre-application resolution is that the applicant will not oppose the formation of an assessment district. We're continuing with that theme of all the projects that we've seen in the area. So our recommendation tonight is to have the applicant come up and maybe describe a little bit more what they're planning for the area. We do have a resolution for your consideration. It's Resolution 37-2019. If adopted, it will allow the project to continue to move through the entitlement process. And that concludes my presentation, and I know the applicants are here and very anxious to explain what their plans are. Thank you.
Any questions for staff at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and give us the rundown.
Do you have a rental here yet to save you all the drives?
You know, Ukiah is not that far. It's a nice commute. Good evening, Mayor Bagby and council members. My name is Kevin Doble with Laco Associates. I am here tonight with the chairman of the Dry Creek Tribe, Chris Wright, agent for the property, Phil Wright, David Smith Ferry, and Dave Cade with the Tribal Housing Group. And I just wanted to take just a couple of minutes to walk you through the 2 pages that I provided tonight. The first page is basically a blow-up or a large view of the South Cloverdale area. And as you can see on here, a lot's happened, I think, in the last year down in this area. We've currently got 2 applications that are into LAFCO. The renter annexation and the Vintners Co-op application are moving forward, and we're hoping to see those things happen here in the next few months. There are 2 other applications that were processed concurrently for pre-zoning, or they're about to be processed for pre-zoning, and that is the Bumgarner Ranch and the Payless storage site. So our site is 2 parcels south of that. We are slightly contiguous to the city limit line. Our proposal here is to really not monkey around too much with the zoning, but we would like to have the ability to have a little bit of general commercial, because essentially they're very similar to light industrial, but it allows some retail and allows some hospitality, and those are flexibility that we're hoping that might serve this area well. The second page, which is a larger map, is basically a blow-up of the conceptual development plan. And what we're showing here is the 25-lot residential subdivision clustered down on the lower end of the property, maintaining private open space up on the hillside in the oak woodlands. We're also putting the road that serves this would be a private road that serves the residential units. We're actually putting it on to the parcel, the general industrial parcel. So we create more of a buffer between the industrial land and the residential properties. And of course, those residential properties that front the road are also going to be set back an additional 20 feet. So you're looking at probably close to 80 feet or more of setback from that industrial use area, which we think is important to create those separations. Improvements to Kelly Road will occur in accordance with the general plan. Our proposal, we're currently about to be underway with a traffic study that will determine the amount of traffic we have to be accountable for and our fair share of improvements for Kelly Road. Our proposal at this point is to build half of Kelly Road, half of the ultimate width of Kelly Road, and that would be sufficient to serve both properties at some point. And then if their development were to occur to the north of us, they could build the other half. However, the assessment district discussion, that right there, if it were to happen in the next couple of years, would probably get everything built, which would be probably the best way to approach it. So we're looking forward to working with you on that as well as we move forward with our project. I wanted to mention that we've made contact and had a meeting with 2 of the 3 adjacent properties. The property that is probably more well known as the Polly Klaus parcel, we've reached out to those property owners through our agent. We had not received a response. We do intend to send a formal letter to our neighbors, letting them know what we're intending to do. And I think we feel it, as we move forward through this process, we would like to have them participate with us in bringing this whole south area into the city. Ironically, it's 1 year to the day that the council passed their top 10 goals for the city, and one of the goals is actually getting annexation to occur in this area. So we're here tonight if you have any questions. We would like to have an opportunity to answer and have a discussion with you after public comment if it was necessary, and thank you very much.
Actually, Kevin, don't go away. Do you have any questions for Kevin right now?
I'll wait. I do have questions.
Okay, we'll wait. And, or any technical questions for Kevin right now?
Okay, for right now.
All right, so don't go far. Okay. So I'll go ahead and open it up to the public if anyone would like to come forward and comment on this item. All right, well, seeing none, I guess we'll move on. So we'll bring it back to the council, and are there any questions for Kevin or Kevin at this point? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kevin, so this annexation will come forward with the others, right? It's not going to come alone on its own?
The others, meaning Baumgartner?
Yeah, Baumgartner, Payless, Fitness.
They will go on their separate tracks unless, unless somebody could organize that, but the way they're proceeding and the timing of their sort of, getting their projects going, they're on separate tracks.
Okay, and it is contiguous?
Well...
Yeah, are they slightly ahead, so then they'll be in, and then this next one will be in, because, yeah.
They are ahead.
Okay.
They're ahead. The council, you may remember, we approved a Payless storage. We've been reaching out to them. We haven't heard back. I know Baumgartner's moving pretty quickly, and they're pretty anxious, and they've been working hard on their project. So that one is definitely moving ahead. Any other thoughts on that, David?
I think, one of the major issues with respect to this proposal that's before you this evening is really a timing issue. And I think that's the question that Vice Mayor Walters asking about. And the timing issue is something that's really out of the control of staff. We're relying upon the various property owners to take action. We've done our part, I think, particularly with respect to the Baumgartner parcel, to move forward with the environmental review process and bring it forward for council's consideration. Now it's contingent upon the developers to actually submit a planning application. If they do not, it does somewhat impact what the project components that are before you tonight want to accomplish, because of the rules that are set forth by the local agency formation commission, which require lands outside of our city to be developed in an orderly fashion and to provide for provision of services. Of course, what we are trying to attempt to do as staff is develop an infrastructure improvement plan that would guide the future development Ideally, we would bring all of these property owners in an organized, fashion, and even if possible, kind of under a comprehensive plan, such as a specific plan. It doesn't have to be a specific plan, but certainly an area-wide plan, so that we can make sure that the infrastructure that serves the area, and when I say infrastructure, I mean sewer, water, streets, and lighting, all are designed in such a fashion that they work together. And right now, what we're lacking is a cohesive plan for the area, but we're also trying to respond to the interests of the property owners who want to move forward. And you may want to take that into consideration tonight and reflect that some of what is being asked is contingent upon bringing those other property interests to the table. The big property that we're all kind of questioning, I think, is the school district property. And school districts have their own kind of authority in the government code in terms of how, who they have to seek entitlements from, and who they get, who ultimately gets to review and approve their project. And so there is some necessity to coordinate, I think, amongst these interests to get them all to the table. And that's something that, maybe as part of your deliberation tonight on this project, is to give staff feedback and possibly the applicant feedback on how we might bring these other property interests to the table, so that we can really start talking about how this area, which is a very critical, important area for the city, will be comprehensively planned and ultimately developed that meets the interests of our community.
And Kevin, a couple of questions for you. I like the open space, even though it says private on it. I just think preserving those green little hills would be fantastic. I really haven't been politically correct this evening with my fellow council members, so I'm just going to kind of continue that, if you don't mind. My big concern, you had mentioned a hotel being put possibly on that one industrial site. And I guess my big concern, and of course you can do what you'd like to do, but I'm just hoping that once that property is annexed into the city, that we're not going to have it go into trust, and next thing you know, we have a casino sitting down there right next to our school. So that's a big concern for me, and I understand that we have no control over that. I'm looking at this separately from an annex standpoint, but I just want you to know that what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think I can answer that, and I can also bring forward the tribal chairman to speak to that. We had this conversation yesterday when we met, and the tribe has told me that they do not intend to put either one of these properties into a trust. A casino there is not something they're thinking about. The hotel concept is really, we really haven't refined what's really going to happen there. That's why we're asking for a little bit of flexibility in the zoning, because general commercial allows retail, it allows other things too that might fit well with other developments in the area. So we want to have the flexibility to be able to address that, but we're talking quite a few years out on that lower parcel anyway.
Okay.
The goal right now for the tribe is to get housing for their elders. And it is affordable housing. It's housing that's going to remain under the tribe's ownership. They're going to be doing all the maintenance. They're going to be doing all of the upkeep. They're going to have very strict CCNRs. They're following very strict HUD guidelines about how long it has to remain affordable. All of those components are great, and I think it's great for the city's affordable housing stock also to have 25 new units. That's the immediate goal. Bringing this other parcel in and purchasing that parcel is a way to get to that goal, because we have to be contiguous to the city. We're borderline contiguous. We're still evaluating. We touch the city limit line. Our parcel does, the front parcel. But there are parcels between us and the city as well, to the north. We are working with LAFCO. We are going to be reaching out to the neighbors and engaging them in a real conversation. We really need, from the higher level tonight, to understand whether or not we're moving in the right direction at this point. And if we are, we're going to be moving pretty quickly to engage everybody in the goal of hopefully getting more of an area-wide annexation to occur, and I think that would be good. I'd like to introduce Chris Wright also, if you'd want to hear from him about your question.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Wright, the tribal chairman for Dry Creek Ranchery, and I just wanted to kind of answer your question about putting land into trust or putting gaming there. I can reassure you that's nothing we would want to do. None of that land would ever go into trust. It just wouldn't be good for us to move a casino north when you have casinos south. I mean, that's really where everybody's coming from. So it doesn't benefit us to do any of that. And to put it in a trust doesn't benefit us to do anything there either. I mean, in Sonoma County, we do have different lands that are in trust, but we work with the county. And when it comes to the tax revenue from the properties, we donate that back to the county. So, so there's no loss to the city or anything like that, even if it ever did go into trust. But that's not something we would ever want to do. We want to do some economic development on that property, which also would benefit you as well. And then the other parcel is really for our tribal elders. We have about 110 tribal elders. It would be 25 homes that we can take care of them. We manage it for them. You know, we do the landscape for them. We do everything. We want to be top notch for our elders. We really take care of them. And so that's kind of our thought process through this whole thing. But I know that question was going to come up, but I want to reassure you, no casino, no land in a trust at all that's there. So,
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I do have one comment. One thing we're really short of in Cloverdale is just a place for our light industry to go. And so, I mean, general commercial is sort of okay with me, but I would really, especially the property that's right along South Cloverdale Boulevard, it would be really nice to be able to kick that up to maybe an option of light industry. So I know right now there's a waiting list out at Reuser. There's just nowhere for small business people to locate. And so they're leaving us and they're heading for Ukiah because there is a big build out right now of light industry in Ukiah. You know that.
Yeah, I do.
So it would be, I'd rather see that zoning than general commercial, quite honestly, but up to you.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that, and I certainly do understand the importance of the general industrial lands. I don't think the intent here is to really cut down. We've kind of looked at what might go there, general industrial. It's probably like a form of warehouse, build-to-suit type of facilities, but we think there needs to be an opportunity to have some sales tax generating retail to support maybe other activities that might occur on the south end of town. I think that the reason we came up with the 2 acreages is we just tried to kind of split it down the middle, really. I think when we get into the pre-zoning, we do our fiscal analysis, which will evaluate that parcel as well. We'll be coming back to you, and I think we can continue that discussion and see how far we can get as far as getting as much light industrial as possible. So I do hear you on that topic.
Our biggest need right now in this community is just a place for people to work.
Yeah, understood.
You know, I just have to concur. If we're not careful, we will again bookend in industry and on both sides. Yep. And I don't want to be unreasonable with the applicant. That tends to be a motif I find myself saying all the time. But please consider it. Please look at those details because we will be.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Well, this comes down to me. I absolutely support this and welcome this. Thank you, Kevin, for being the Pied Piper. But I have to concur with my counsel is that we just have such a pent-up demand for commercial and light industrial. And I know, like you want to have your light industrial, and you want to be able to have a deli, so that the people who are working in light industrial got a place to go or something like that. But I just would really lean toward it being more industrial, light industrial oriented. But and also I'd really love to see the dedicated open space be open to everyone, if you would, consider that, because we have, Porterfield Creek will have the school district open space. It would be great if everybody were open to, maybe just pedestrian bicycle traffic or something like that. I certainly don't want it to be like a destination park that everybody, because it's like, especially when it's your tribal elders, it's like, they don't want to, if they wanted a basketball court, they can go to a basketball court, they don't want to hear that, but it would be, I just would hope that you would be open to, asking folks if they would just like to be part of that really cool network that's going to end up down at the south end of town, so that, the walking and the maybe biking is an opportunity that all of the neighborhoods down there will be able to share. So just would hope that you would consider that in the future.
I really appreciate you bringing that up, because we talked about that yesterday as well. And we're really here to hear this input, because it helps us craft our project. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I do understand that we want to make sure that the elders have a safe and peaceful place. And I do agree that we do need some industrial, light industrial sections. I'm sure that there's a design where it could be mixed use, so that the elders don't necessarily have to face an industrial area, and that it could be beautified enough so that it is comfortable for those parties. But I think, yes, there would be room for mixed use, maybe some stores, deli, and so on. And are you going to have some sort of a park or something as such for the elders, or is it just in your house, you have your yard, and that's it?
Yeah, the conceptual design so far, what we've talked about are, there'll be a community center. There'll be a community center building. It'll be a gathering place. There will be outside space. No, the community center will actually be on the open space parcel, and it'll be probably down below. There'll probably also be some, like a garage or a shed type of storage for equipment to maintain the yards. So that kind of thing is what we were talking about. And so, yeah, that's definitely part of what the vision is for this, is to have some community space. And again, we're sort of starting to really start grinding on those things, but we have to get through this milestone before it's really justified to put up that effort of exact dimensions and where things go. Regarding your comment on mixed use, and I actually agree, and I think that's kind of why we went with the general commercial idea, was that mixed use is permitted in that zoning designation, but not necessarily in a light industrial. So we're trying to find a transect there, and how we end up splitting what the acreage ends up being is something that's yet to be determined.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions, right? I'd like to open it up to the public. Would anyone like to come forward and comment on this project?
Already signed. Patrick King, prior builder developer here in Cloverdale, business owner. First time I've seen this was right now. I like this. I think this is great. Like, this is what we need: light industrial, general commercial, all that mixed use. I see tax revenue. There's a lot of benefits to even the approach off the freeway, the visual concept of this. I mean, I could really see this concept working, as well as there's a minimal impact with not very many houses in the back as well too. A lot of open space. I love it. Actually, first glance at it, I really like the concept of it. Not so excited about the one next door. We won't talk about that now, the prior proposed one to the north. But this one, yeah, I think it's going to be good.
I think you can also talk to Kevin about that. So.
Okay, I got one more minute. I will talk.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Would anyone else from the public like to come forward and comment on this item? Okay, so seeing that, I'll bring it back to the council. So do we have...
we have a resolution.
We have a resolution. Any other comments for staff that you'd like to see?
Yeah, when we get into the assessment district, it seems to me that
with our conversation led in that direction for the previous properties that have spoken on this subject, to keep that idea alive, I believe would start to mitigate some of the concerns we have about the assessment district being outpriced by the cost of development that we had brought up. It was kind of a pivotal point about whether we do something now or we do something later. And it seems like to continue to encourage the assessment district provides a wider expanse to spread the cost over. Of course, it also increases the scope of the project in which the developments will have to do, but I found myself leaning towards the concept of an assessment district with that.
Sure. The other part to the assessment district is just the engineering study that David mentioned, because we have a lot of development pressure down here, and we really need to get a handle on what kinds of infrastructure we need, assessment district or not. So that's what we're excited about too, is just the first part of the assessment district is having someone analyze what's needed down here so we can at least condition projects to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Well, I guess I just would add that, you know, in an ideal world, it would be done under a specific plan, but it would be a lot of cards would need to coalesce in order for that to happen. So, but I don't want to, you know, put a delay on this, because I do support the project, and we'll see where the council is on this. So, would anyone like to make a motion regarding the resolution in front of us?
You can offer the resolution?
Would you like to offer the resolution?
Sure, I'll offer the resolution. City of Cloverdale City Council Resolution Number 37-2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale allowing submittal of a pre-zoning and annexation application for future annexation of two parcels located at 235 Kelly Road, APN 117-040-073, and Redwood Highway, APN number 117-040-074.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Councilmember Turner?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Walter?
Aye.
And Mayor Bagby?
Aye. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to move on to item number 7, action of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale authorizing the mayor to sign a letter of support for the County of Sonoma to consider switching county facilities to 100% renewable energy through Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen program.
Mayor, Council, quick background. This item was requested to be brought forth at the direction of the mayor. Staff has prepared a draft letter of support for the county to consider, switching county facilities to 100% renewable energy through Sonoma County's Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen program. The Evergreen program is a program which ensures that the energy source is 100% renewable. The biggest source of that power is geothermal from our local geysers project. The kind of guiding philosophy behind the support for the Evergreen program is, one, it supports local industry, but also it helps to meet the county's greenhouse gas reduction emission goals by reducing the impact of the electricity source through switching from the current program to Evergreen. My understanding is that one of the county board members has requested that this be brought forward to the full Board of Supervisors for consideration. At this time, I have not determined that it's specifically calendared for the board to agendize it. That is something that is going to be decided by the chair as well as the county administrative office. But this letter would support the placement of that item on the agenda and ultimately moving the county to the Evergreen program. Included in your packet is a letter that would be sent to the Chair Rabbit of the Board of Supervisors, supporting the move to 100% renewable energy through Sonoma County Clean Power's Evergreen program. Happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions?
Are we aware of who may be opposed to this, requiring letters of support from the city? Is there a fiscal impact that any members of the county might be concerned over as far as moving towards exclusively through Sonoma Clean Power? Have they identified revenue sources to cover the possible change in expense or anything like that? I mean, do you have any high-level stuff, Madam Mayor, that?
Very high level. So this really, the person behind this is Supervisor Linda Hopkins, and she serves on Sonoma Clean Power Board with me. She's really pushing the county to upgrade to Evergreen. So just to be clear, I think we're all, the city of Cloverdale is on the standards of clean power, which is a mix of hydroelectric and which is not considered to be renewable in the state of California, but only in the state of California. It's a mixture of geothermal, hydroelectric wind, and solar. And then Evergreen is just like one step above, and it's slightly more expensive. It's not inconsiderable, considering how much the county probably, how big their electric bill is every month, but the percentage is it's probably, if I had to guess, it would be like 7 to 10%, or maybe even less than that. Oh. Do you remember the numbers on that, David? How much more expensive Evergreen is?
I don't have the numbers.
Yeah, so, and you have an option to go to Evergreen if you're on Sonoma Clean Power right now, so you can go to 100% renewable. And so it's basically, it's probably the cheapest way to go to utterly, cut your greenhouse gas emissions. The city of Sonoma has gone ahead and just done it because they looked at all of their options for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and they realized this is the quickest, easiest, just turn a switch, and you go 100% renewable. And so that's the impetus. And of course, they're going to ask the cities to be next. So we're not far behind. We'll be coming with that ask at some point probably this year.
If I remember correctly, it was either late last year or early last year that as a result of the Santa Rosa and Sonoma fires, that Sonoma Clean Power had maybe one quarter where their vitality was in question about how they would carry on as an organization.
Oh, no, they were never in any kind of financial. There was an existential threat if the CPU continued going down the road that they were going in regulating all CCAs into the ground, and we seem to have turned a corner on that. But financially, actually, as a result of the fire, Sonoma Clean Power, that within 3 days donated $1 million to county charities, and including forgiving the power bills for the vets halls and the places that served as evacuation centers. So no, they're financially, they are in very good shape, and that's one of the advantages of leaving PG&E and going to Sonoma Clean Power, but then also taking it one step further and going to Evergreen, is that all of that money stays in this community. Our power, the money from our electrical bills is not going to a San Francisco-based company that then distributes it to their investors. It actually stays in the county and stays in our community and gets reinvested here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, but it's an important step. I mean, and Supervisor Hopkins is taking a step out because the county is definitely experiencing financial difficulties as a result of the fire, but also I think her thinking is that as a result of the fire, which was not exclusively the fault of climate change, but was definitely exacerbated by it, it's time for the county of Sonoma to step up and put its money where its mouth is and take that step toward 100% renewable energy.
I would say that I don't have a problem with this because it's the county of Sonoma, not Cloverdale.
It's not us.
It's not us.
They're going to ask us next, though. So.
But if we were asked to do this for the city of Cloverdale, before I would say yes to it, I would definitely have to see money numbers. I would want to see what effect it would have, because this is like we're signing on to something and we don't really, or giving a letter of support to something and we don't have a clue financially what it's going to do.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Ann, because when I saw in here budget financial impact none, I just found myself respectfully disagreeing, but it's just none to us yet. All right.
It will increase the overhead for the county of Sonoma, but it will also instantly decrease their greenhouse gas emissions. And it's less expensive than a lot of other things that they could implement to have the same effect.
Okay, great.
But it's the county, not us.
It's the county,
fair
not
enough.
So what do we care?
Well.
Any other questions? So.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that we have you sign a letter of support for the County of Sonoma to consider switching county facilities to 100% renewable energy through Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen program.
I will second.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
And Councilmember Turner.
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walter.
Yes.
And Mayor Bagby.
Aye. Supervisor Hopkins will be thankful for the support, so be sure to convey that at our next Sonoma Clean Power meeting. So let's see. Moving on to subcommittee items. The airport will be meeting on Tuesday, June 4th, and Finance Administration and Police will be, we did this right? Finance Administration will be meeting Thursday, the 23rd. I keep having 11 o'clock on my...
So do I.
It is 11 o'clock.
It is 11 o'clock, okay. There you go. And so Planning Community Development.
Yes, Planning, Community, and Development will meet on Tuesday, the 18th of June. The meeting starts at 4 p.m.
You got that, Sue?
I got it.
Okay. And Public Works.
Public Works will be meeting this coming Tuesday, the 28th at 4 p.m. City Hall.
Joint City Fire District.
The meeting will be taking place the first week in August.
Okay. Not June 10th.
No, that has been canceled.
Okay. And Joint City School District.
July 15th.
Just a note on the Joint City Fire District, that is a meeting date that has been adopted by resolution, so staff will post a cancellation notice for that meeting.
All right, thank you. So, council reports. Anyone have a verbal?
You know, I'll be providing a bulk of mine in writing, but I do want to comment. I had so much fun supporting the Boys and Girls Club last week. Being able to shake the kids' hands who had accomplishments in the community and just really be a part of that was, I mean, I was just tickled pink over the whole thing. So I really, really enjoyed that. Yes.
It was really an honor being there.
Yeah. And to help figure out some people's first handshakes was an enlightening event, that's for sure.
There was a little handshake tutorial going on for all of us, so that was great. Any other council reports? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is not necessarily a report, but I met with some folks that are interested in changing the rubber playground material that we have underneath the swings. And I've asked Councilmember Brigham if she minds if I replaced her on that ad hoc committee, but I wanted to come back to the full city council and get permission to do that before I replace her.
I'm good with it.
And
No, I would not. No, I just wanted to say, as the current chair, I welcome Gus Walter should it be permitted.
okay, yeah, I think it's okay, even though we're both on the ad hoc. I'm sorry, on the subcommittee that's handling it. We're now both on the ad hoc. I think that's okay.
So the only issue is that because you're also part of the actual subcommittee, whenever you guys meet and it's a subject matter that the subcommittee is dealing with, there is an argument under the Brown Act that would also be a meeting of that subcommittee. So that's what gets a little tougher, to kind of meet outside of the subcommittee meeting. Simply because you're still meeting same subject matter, and you would be meeting now. Is it the same committee? Who are the subcommittee members?
For the Public Works Subcommittee, you are correct, Jose. Gus Walter and I currently chair and co-chair that subcommittee.
So the tough part is if that subcommittee is dealing with this item and you're meeting with it, meeting as a subcommittee for that item, and then you're meeting as an ad hoc for that item, there's really no distinction. That's the issue.
So it makes me wonder, and now I'm just thinking right along, think tank kind of thing here. There have been members of the community that feel that they have Gus's ear, and they may not necessarily, as even us at times, understand the complete nuances that go along with the Brown Act. During the next ad hoc committee, which, if my memory serves me correctly, is scheduled for
June the 5th.
June the 5th, thank you. If I were to excuse myself from that particular meeting to allow Gus an opportunity to meet with those members of the community, would we be kind of a hub and spoke or whatever that kind of comes up? Or is that a permissible avenue in order to meet the needs that the community has expressed?
So if it's an agendized subcommittee meeting, you don't have to excuse yourself. If it's an agendized subcommittee meeting, they could definitely come and talk to both of you during that subcommittee meeting. That has been.
This would be an agendized ad hoc committee.
That's the ad hoc. Well, what couldn't we just simplify it by folding it back into Public Works?
Yes.
That's one.
Because if it was just a Public Works subcommittee, it's both of you.
It's a good solution.
And I am absolutely okay with that. The one commitment that I made that got us here is the frequency in which we met on this topic. And so to make this compromise, which I'm happy to do, will have a direct impact on that commitment that I made about the frequency in which we meet on this topic.
You can also hold special meetings.
Okay, thank you. So we can branch the Public Works Subcommittee, which Gus and I currently co-chair, make sure we agendize it, we follow the rules, we post, and we could have a specified meeting for one agenda item that would typically occur as a reoccurring item on the Public Works Subcommittee.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good. Then
so I find that to be an agreeable compromise as long as my colleagues agree.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Okay, so then I guess we need to agendize a meeting for July the 5th.
June the 5th.
I'm sorry, June 5th.
So even immediately after the May 28th. So you have time to put it on the May 28th agenda, and then you want to have a subsequent meeting on June 5th.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So long as you're okay with that?
Mayor, Council, that's exactly what I was going to reiterate, is that we need to ensure that, and I'm pretty sure it will be on the agenda for the June 28th Public Works Subcommittee.
May 28th.
I mean, May 28th, and that at that meeting, we discuss a special meeting of the committee so that we re-agendize that, but that will be the only topic of discussion. And we would then publish an agenda indicating it's a special meeting time and possibly a meeting place, if that's so desired. So we'd recommend, I think City Hall would be preferable, just from the public transparency perspective, if possible.
And I recognize the uniqueness of how close together these meetings happen to be, and I do not foresee that being a regular occurrence where one is almost 1 week after the other. It's just the best way to find compromise with this current solution.
So Sue, it's June the 5th at 4 o'clock at City Hall.
If I could just remind the council, that also doesn't prevent the residents from speaking with you individually.
Right.
Understood.
You can still definitely have those types of meetings with them.
Okay. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I find myself really wanting to stick to this current date is individuals have committed it to their calendar, and I want to be respectful of that effort.
Anything else on subcommittees? Okay, so moving on to, were we on council reports? I might have lost where I was. Council reports. You have a report? Yeah, yours is in writing? So.
Mine is in writing. However, there was a meeting last night at the Library Advisory Board, and I committed to bring to the City Council the information that the Cloverdale Library is using Sonoma 5 which is, an, how do you say that? Transit. And it's a unit that you could take to your house and you could connect 8 instruments, telephone, computer, laptop.
It's the portable Wi-Fi. You
The
can check
portable.
out. You can check out a little Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yes.
Oh, how Yes. neat.
It's the portable
I heard about
Sonoma
this.
phone. Yes. And we are #1 in use in the county. And it has worked very well. You have to be 21 years old to check it out, but it could be used in a family for all the different units that they have to be attached. It's working very well, and we encourage the community to go to the library and use that, because you could have Wi-Fi in places that normally you can't have access, and also many people who do not have Wi-Fi at home. We're also seeking a possible student liaison for the Library Advisory Board. We have one, but it will be best to have, just like in the City Council, to have 2 students, because there are so many commitments that they have. Also, they mentioned that they were very happy with the Community Day. Many of the students went to help clean the library. They also want to make sure that it is known that many programs for children are in place for the summer, and that the state librarian came to Cloverdale and was most impressed with our operations there, and spent pretty much all the day there. And the other big highlight for Sonoma County is that the UN delegation came to Hillsburg to precisely know about Sonoma 5 and how to use technology as community outreach in small rural areas. So that's, the other thing is that beginning on July 1st, there's going to be a fine-free program at the library.
Cool.
So, and no Sunday services for a year.
Any other council reports? Okay. Actually, I asked Mark if he could give us a short report out from the Upper Russian River Managers Meeting that was this afternoon.
Yes, there's some complications happening from Congressman Hoffman's office and his involvement, and it's complicating things in that things will be due here by June. I do have my notes. I will share them with City Council.
Potter Valley Project.
Yeah, Potter Valley Project, exactly. So it's complicating things a little bit, but they're still moving forward with an application to acquire that project.
Inland water and power.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Yeah, because they moved it to Geyserville, I was like, that's too much of a squeeze for me to get back here, and it turns out they were late getting to the meeting, so it was a good thing I stayed and listened to it on the phone. Okay, is there a legislative report?
Yes, Mayor, Council. I want to give the Council an update on 2 concurrent bills that are working their way through the state legislature. They're really companion bills, known as SB 54 and AB 1080. AB 1080 is sponsored by Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez, and SB 54 is sponsored by Senator Ben Allen. These bills are known as the California Circular Economy and Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. These bills are being supported by the League of California Cities, and they're intended to direct the California Department of Resource Recycling and Recovery to adopt regulations requiring manufacturers to source, reduce, and recycle 75% of single-use packaging and products. The intent is to promote additional material that is recyclable and or compostable, so that we're reducing the amount of material that gets landfilled. Included on the dais is a letter or notice of support for SB 54 addressed to Senator Allen. There's also a letter of support addressed to Assemblymember Gonzalez. I believe the mayor has addressed the letter to Assemblymember Gonzalez. and we'd like to get your support for forwarding the letter to the state senator. There's kind of a new process for doing that, but we want to make sure you're aware of it, you support it, and if so, we'll get the mayor's signature and we'll move this forward. We think it's important ultimately because by reducing the amount of material that goes in the landfill, we would then in turn reduce the tipping fees that get charged to our residents through their waste bills, and therefore it would help offset, what are projected increases, basically into perpetuity from tipping fee increases that are really built into our agreement with Sonoma County for use of the Sonoma County landfill.
I mean,
I'm okay with that.
Savings passed on to our community, it seems like low-hanging fruit. Let's just sign it if you're comfortable with it. I'm okay with that.
Is everybody okay
No,
with it?
I'm fine with it.
Great. Okay, so any the city manager or city attorney report?
Mr. Mayor?
Council direction on future agenda items.
I do have just one. Sue, please forgive me. I need this for Public Works on Tuesday. I'd like an update on the encroachment fees and a discussion.
About me?
Yes.
Any other items?
Are you ready to adjourn?
I'm ready. I'm ready if you are.
Well, before you adjourn, I just wanted to take a moment and apologize to Councilmember Cruz for seeming somewhat aggressive, and to yourself. So, with that being said, I'm fine.
Council Vice Mayor, you're an officer and a gentleman. So on that note, we are going to adjourn our meeting until Wednesday, June 12th. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, staff, for your hard work tonight.